At DW, our philosophy has always been to make the best possible products we could, not really being that concerned about the price of the product, but being more concerned about what we're going to be able to offer the drummer so that it can improve his life. The artists that we have, we're really proud to say, have come to us as a result of probably the way most of the drummers have come to us, and that's by hearing the drums. The sound of the drums that brought them to wanting to find out more about the company and what we're all about. And that's the way we believe it should be. We'll do the most we can for them, and the fact that they're excited about playing the drums is, money can't buy that. When you hear a DW artist or a drummer hanging out backstage talking about how happy he is with the sound of his drums.
I'm at a point in my life, I've been building drums, and Don and I have been working together for 27 years, and I'm just getting started. I mean, it's exciting. I really honestly feel that I'm just getting started. And I'm so proud of what we can do, and I'm proud of the people that work with us.
I like playing any kind of music that feels good. Like, you know, people say, you know, well, you're a jazz drummer, but then there's people in another side of music that, you know, they don't even know I play jazz. So all you have to do is if you come to the music from a true space that you love this music, or that you really enjoy playing, and it doesn't matter what kind of music you're playing if you're coming from the right space. The reason why I think that I've had a better relationship with this kit than I've ever had is a couple of reasons. Paying attention to research and development. There's always been, with Drum Workshop, more R&D and new ideas that come out of that company. Between hardware or different ways of doing shells, pitching shells together and sending kits out that are harmonically matched to each other. You know, that was an idea that was like, wow, that's pretty slick. Hanging out with a bunch of drummers is like you're in a fraternity or a football team. It's kind of a funny thing. You know, drummers have an interesting social structure with each other. There's competition between people, but by and large, it is a fraternity of a lot of friendship, and we're all out here together and supporting the love of drumming. We're the only instruments are really like that. It's funny, we all have this general love. It's like drum is the most addictive drug you could ever find.
Something that's really exciting for us is getting into a lot of different types of woods. I never thought we'd be buying trees with the drum business. I'm not sure this is a word, but if it is, John Good, I think, is a woodologist. He has become one, whether he knew he was going to be one or not.
The new woods are incredible. I mean, they look like furniture. They sound even better. And I mean, I want to get a kit and just put it in my living room and just let it sit there.
One of the things I'm really looking forward to now is will be my new Lake Superior drum set.
I'm amazed at how he finds the woods, the 600-year-old woods, the woods over in Africa, all of that. I'm so happy to be playing drums because of DW.
there's somebody in this company called John Good who is totally crazed out of his mind, who is like hunting woods from the bottom of the lakes and oceans, and they look fantastic. Look at this thing. I mean, outrageous.
I got my 750-year-old snare drum maple. I'm telling you, I don't know what I can say. I mean, I'm in heaven. And I'm very old.
The story of the Lake Superior timeless timber wood is a pretty interesting one. It's a historical one. You know, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's about 1,500 different vessels that have sunk in the Great Lakes. And one of the most celebrated, and I hate to say the word celebrated, but the most famous is the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The state of Wisconsin in 1991 commissioned a few people to go and reclaim something to bring back for the loved ones, to bring closure to this terrible accident. In an effort to bring something back, Scott Mitchen, who is used to diving in the Caribbean and where it's nice and warm for Spanish galleons and bringing back treasures and gold and what have you, tackled this task. So he went down there and found himself stacking logs. They're quite buoyant under the water. And he shined a light on the end of one of these logs, and lo and behold, chiseled into the end of the log was the logger's name, the day he cut it down, and the company he worked for. That was his receipt. And that had sunk down there and was perfectly preserved for all these years. And he realized these logs have been down here for 120, 150 years. So connected some toggles, inflated a balloon, up pops this log, seeing oxygen and sunlight for the first time in 150 years. Exciting as that may be, they took it on shore and they found some more treasures. Cutting the end off of this log, there was an amazing thing that happened. You know, in our environment today, you see, if you cut down a tree, the grow rings in the log itself, there's usually about 3 to 5 rings per inch. These logs have got between 50 and 60 per inch. I mean, it's so dense. I mean, they actually have to use a computer scanner to count some of these. That's how dense this wood is. It was what they call slow growth timber. It just took them forever to grow. Now, how did they wind up down there on the bottom of the lake? They would cut these trees in Canada and Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, and they had these mills all along the bays of Lake Superior and the other Great Lakes. And they would push these logs in the snow, and they'd push them in the water. They'd keep them close to the bays, but they used it as a thoroughfare to get this kind of wood down to that mill, this kind of wood over to that mill, etc., you know. And through time and through this process, some of them just got so heavy with water that they sank. What we find is a condition that this wood winds up in that is similar to what Stradivarius did to his wood. I don't know if you know this, but he used to sink his wood here, and the sap and the minerals would leach out of the cells of the wood, and then the wood was very unstable and truly waterlogged. So when you dry this wood, it just wants to explode because it's so unstable. But there's a tedious, slow method to bring this wood back to a stable state. And once you've done that, what you have are empty cells, and they become tiny little echo chambers, and they vibrate the wood about 30% longer. That's why this stuff is so special. These guys took 2 logs out of Chequamegon Bay. They were bird's eye maple logs, and took them to Louisiana Pacific and rotary cut these babies for me, okay? And this shut the plant down. Here you had 30 people standing around watching this historical log be rotary cut. I mean, it just starts coming off in sheets, and this bird's eye is the most well, it's in this drum set right here. I use that for the outside and the inside, and for the core. This is a very special project of mine, and Don and I are thrilled to have this as our premier offering for the NAMM Show 2000. It's kind of got a lot of connotations to it. Something so old to be appreciated now. And it's a piece of art, but it's a hell of an instrument as well.
I'm wearing the Admiral Wolf outfit here, which is sort of the captain of the ship. And I was not really involved in digging this wood up, but I would have liked to.
This is why I love this so much. I live for this. I live for this moment. Look at this. Have you ever seen anything so beautiful, so wide, so long, beautifully? 600 wood. Oh, Scott. Look at this. Have you ever seen anything like this? Look at how beautiful.
Looking around this room, for example, this little voice that covets becomes very loud in my head. It says, I want that. Can I have that, John? Can I have that over there, John? Can I have that?
That's another great thing of having DW, the choice of finishes and the actual quality of the finishes. From even the finished ply stuff, it just looks amazing, sounds great as well.
Oh, they're like pieces of furniture to me, the way they're polished and finished, and the color schemes that they have. The color chart is truly amazing, and they're just beautiful works of art, as well as audibly and visually.
Even before I can remember, used to walk around the house with my mom's pots and pans, wooden spoons out, wearing headphones, listening to music and just jamming along. So they finally got a drum set for me, and I've been playing it. It was a natural expression for me to get out whatever emotion and also to conjure up emotions that I maybe needed to feel. If I was feeling down, then I would really go at it and get the aggression out, and then also get the joy, which would replace it. So for me, it was just always a real natural form of expression. Thinks about really being able to set things up the way you want to, worldwide, no matter if it's your kit or a kit that you're using for the day. And you can put stuff away in cases and take it out, and it's basically the same. And really, just they've thought long and hard about every single aspect of these drums, and it's really amazing. Such an overwhelming feeling of family and camaraderie between everybody that works there. You know, from the guys who paint the drums to the guys who are making the shells now. And everybody's really proud of their work. It really made me feel good about being a part of and really being allowed to be included in a company like that. And I just, I love it. I love playing.
When we went in to do our first national release with Don Gaiman as producer, I was still playing this kit that I'd had for years. I'd never really been introduced to what drums were all about formally. And Don showed me this set of drums called DWs. And he started, teaching me what the tones were all about. And it got me so excited again, as a drummer, to what a drum actually does. And so he said, just leave your drum set at home in South Carolina and come out and use my DWs. And so we recorded them on the album. I'd never played them before, but I'll never play anything else again.
I was very curious to sit down and play them. And I kind of sat down on the kit in the back for 1 second. And as soon as I hit the drum, I just went, oh my God, these sound wonderful.
The new DW pedal is fast, smooth, smooth. I haven't played one that's been ever that quick and smooth. And every year they come up with more stuff.
Their pedals have developed and evolved to the point where every weak point on them has been, altered and made stronger, and they just keep getting it better and better.
The new DW pedal with the weights on it, okay, I think DW showed it at the NAMM show for the first time last year. This is a brilliant idea. I remember when John showed me the prototype to this, and I thought, like Richie said, I thought he had finally lost it. And then he said, try this pedal, and I tried it, and it's quite amazing.
We kind of call it a weights and measures system. There's measurements so that you can quantify the adjustments of all the settings on the pedal. There's one for the spring assembly. There's one for the stroke of the beater ball, which is done in our sliding stroke adjustment. There's marks on the actual beater shaft itself. Points of the pedal that you would ever want to adjust, can be set to a certain point. Also, we have a unique patented weight system in that the weights are put on the footboard of the pedal. By putting the weight on the footboard, it creates more the feeling of a rock on the end of a string. It's more of leverage, momentum. It works for not only heavy lead-footed players. The people who had used this in testing it were the lighter players, where I thought it would be more of a heavy rock type option where the extra weights would actually give you, as it does give you a little bit more momentum, especially with the second stroke going into the beater ball. But players who play heel-toe in release, just before the beater ball hits the head, feels a difference in the attack of that second note. And of course, we don't want to forget a patented feature of the pedal for the last couple of years now, which is our ball bearing hinge. The ball bearing hinge offers a unique stability in that you have no movement from right to left, so you feel the footboard of the pedal is working right with the ball of your foot in unison, yet it's completely free because it works off of a ball bearing action. And it's important to note about the Delta II pedal, though it has a little bit wider footboard, the actual weight of the footboard is the same as the thinner footboard, and you can use the pedal, of course, with or without the weights.
I actually get a little bit of a reaction so that I can feel the weight of the beater hitting the drum head.
I found out that the construction of it wasn't overly done. In other words, sometimes you get these pedals that have so much metal and they weigh so much and everything, and you're not really getting much out of it. Yet here's a pedal that was simple, had all of the parts that it needed, was sturdy, was reliable, and always responded the way I needed it to respond for me.
Another feature of the Delta pedals is the dual adjustable toe clamp. Depending on the thickness of your bass drum hoop, you can set your toe clamp so it just slips on. Then you only need 2 turns of the wing screw to secure your pedal to the bass drum. This is the Delta pedal, which has all the features of the Delta 2 pedal, except it has a thinner footboard and does not have the optional Delta weights. The Delta 2, Delta, and 7000 series DW double pedals all feature the patented single-post auxiliary pedal casting, which allows plenty of room to move your foot from the auxiliary pedal to your hi-hat. Both the Delta and the Delta 2 feature a universal that we make in our own manufacturing facility, so we can control the tolerances and the fluidity of the universal drive. The Delta 2 and Delta DW pedals also feature a lightweight aluminum plate. The Delta 2 DW pedal features the patented weight system, which allows the drummer to put 1, 2, or 3 weights on either side of the footboard, increasing the inertia force of the beater ball into the head.
I mean, I can't imagine playing any other pedal. This is the only double pedal I've ever played, and boy, it's just the best.
The amount of pedals that I use, and you know, the durability of the pedals that I use, that's really enabled me to play drums the way that I play. These are really the first pedals that have withstood literally years of punishment, and I think that is something that is important, when you're sitting in front of whatever, 15, 20,000 people. You know you can rely on the equipment, and you know that nothing's going to go wrong.
At the time when it came out, it was the best pedal available. It amazes me, and it shouldn't, because I expect no less from Drum Workshop, is that every few months or they will come out with some new improved feature.
As part of our 7000 series, this is the 7002 PX double pedal, which now features the upgraded ball bearing rocker assembly. This is the DW 7000 series pedals. This is our DW Delta series single pedals.
The music and the energy that drums put out can really, I think, heal the world with their vibrations. A good bouncy beat makes people move and kind of feel happy. So I take all that into my drumming and try not to be just a clock. I want to be more of a natural sound coming out of the earth, because that's where I think I come from. And if you're using drumsticks and drums, you're talking wood and skin. So it really is quite an earthy instrument. Well, when I was a youngster, I saw DW drums, and I thought, well, that's a beautiful kit, and I'd really love to sit behind it. But I finally got a chance to sit behind a DW kit. My friend had one, and I fell in love with the warmth and the sound of it without even noticing how beautiful the craftsmanship was. My ears were just excited. And then looking at the drums and how fine-tuned they were, I really appreciate that someone took the time, because I really love drums. I appreciate people that put drums together and they know exactly from A to Z what's going to happen with that drum. And when I go to the factory, I always see these new little ideas they're starting here and there, and it's improving the sound and the make of the drum. And you look at all the other drum companies, they follow DW. Next year, they're doing what DW did last year. Over the years, I've gotten the new and improved DW pedals, and they keep on getting better, smoother, quicker, quieter, easy to work with. And to me, it feels like anything I can do with my foot or ankle it's being extended right into the beater. Now everything I do with my feet, the pedals react exactly. And I was never much of a double bass guy, but all of a sudden I got a double bass pedal. I'm a wizard.
We think we've designed the ultimate cymbal stand with all the features we've ever wanted to have in a cymbal stand. From minor points like the new DW crutch tip, to major features like the memory lock adjustment that dictates the space of the tripod legs and eventually the overall height of the stand. Also, we have a plastic tubing that keeps the inner tube from striking the outer tube, eliminating any vibrations or rattles. We have a new memory lock that works on a thumb screw design based on the same vice clamp principle that we use in our tube clamp. Our new boom arm clamp is also based on a vice clamp and has a memory lock. So there's memory locks at every adjustment position of the stand to ensure the exact same height and angle position every single time. Our tilter assembly is a toothless tilter assembly with an extra security lock, so if the handle were to get moved during transportation, you would be sure that the angle of the tilter would remain the same. And this is one of the features on the stand, where with the drum key you can lock in a space adjustment to dictate the amount of space you want between the two felts so that your cymbal can swing as little or as much as you want. Tighten the top wing screw as tight as you want, and still you can dictate the amount of space that you have between the two cymbals. In addition to the heavy gauge tubing and the mechanical advantages of the DW stand, we've also made an aesthetic change where we've rounded out the bottom of the tube joint and put the DW logo right into the casting. This is the 7000 series stands, which now come with the new double leg tripod base. We're introducing the 6710 cymbal stand as the first stand in our 6000 series of lightweight stands. The design patent that we received on our tripod base makes it not only lightweight, but also easy to pack up.
The reason that I use DW drums has to be that they make drums there the way I like to play drums. They're durable, they've weathered on the road for me real well, and believe me, during the course of the show, I issue a beating to my kit. The drums are good for a lot of things, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and you can finesse them and play them gently if you want. It's such a big part of my life. If there is anything that's out there that can replace it, I'm certainly not conscious of it.
The 7000 series hi-hats include many of the features of the 5000 series and come in a 2- and 3-leg version. The 5000 series hi-hats, both the Delta and the Standard, come in a 2- and 3-leg version. The Delta hi-hats feature the Delta ball bearing hinge and the ball bearing chain put. They're available in the Delta wide footboard and the Standard footboard. This is our 7000 series remote hi-hat, which allows you to place hi-hat cymbals in a tight area where you don't have room for the normal spring assembly to come down underneath the cymbals. Also uniquely, it lets you use any version of hi-hat cymbals or sound effects, and you can place them on top of a ride or crash cymbal. This is our 5000 remote hi-hat, which features a unique cable. The patented feature of the cable is the removable wire which goes inside. The uniqueness of this combination gives you a remote hi-hat that has the same feel as a regular hi-hat. We also offer a double cymbal stand. Our double cymbal stand has an accessory clamp to hold an extra cymbal arm. DW offers 2 accessory stackers so you can place them on top of each other, a 4-inch and a 6-inch. Also, we have a unique adjustable cymbal stacker. There's 2 models of DW's double brace snare drum stands, the concert and the regular model. DW snare stand features an offset basket and a 360 memory lock clamp. All DW stands are available with an accessory basket which is designed specifically to hold 10 and 12-inch snare drums. One of the most sensitive adjustments for every drummer is the angle of your snare drum. One of the great features of all DW snare stands is that you can lock in the angle adjustment and easily remove the basket for pack-up. We have 3 models of seats: the extra low tripod, standard tripod, and traditional trap case seat. We've designed the seats with many unique features to add stability and comfort. The most important thing we consider designing DW seats was the control you want to feel as a player. Considering that back stress can be caused by seats that are too soft, we found the perfect combination of foam. This gives you the ultimate in comfort, support, and stability. This is our new double footboard hi-hat. The primary pedal functions like our normal 2-legged hi-hat. The auxiliary pedal can either be to the left or the right of the primary pedal, and it can be used for any type of a percussion device. I have a cowbell attached to it. You could put a tambourine, or you could put a piccolo snare drum if you want. And then the left side of the double pedal can easily be attached, and by sliding over the cam chain, you can activate the auxiliary pedal to be the auxiliary side of your double pedal. The dog bone is a unique patented attachment which will go onto any half-inch rod, converting your double tom stand to a single tom cymbal stand or a double cymbal stand. Or you can come off any of your bands so you can put cymbals on cymbals. For example, Terry Bozzio has 14 cymbals on one stand. You can just let your imagination run wild.
For me, the finishes and the woods that DW use, I mean, now they're making their own shells, and, you know, it's like John Good's Magic Toy Shop or you know, Shell Bakery, you know. It's really incredible. Concept of these piccolo toms, which are a 2-inch deep single-headed tom-tom with a mount on it. And because they're so thin and flexible, you can get them into places like under a hi-hat or over your leg if you have a multi-pedal setup on the left like I do. You can't have deep tom-toms in there. And so these were surprisingly toneful, given the fact that there's no double head for the extra resonance, and there's so little shell. But they make a really rich, warm sound that's equal in volume and timbre to a normal double-headed tom-tom, which is much deeper. The latest drum set they made me is the most beautiful, but it also sounds the best. So every time they make me a drum set, it's just getting better sounding. Don is a drummer. John is a drummer. They understand what it is, and they believe in the art of what I'm doing, you know, because it's certainly not commercial.
pride ourselves on trying to do the best that we can, but we realize it's not our opinion that counts as to what's best, it's really the drummer's opinion that counts. And in a Modern Drummers consumer poll that is done every 3 years, Drum Workshop won as best quality and craftsmanship and most innovative in the drum set category. It meant a lot not only to myself and John, but to every single employee of Drum Workshop. And we were really excited that the DW Delta 2 double pedal won the best new product in the Modern Drummer consumer poll.
And 25 years later, his company is the preeminent American drum company in the world today. Mr. Don Lombardi of Drum Workshop.
The timbre matching, of course, as well, for me, is like really crucial because the tuning is become so much a part of what it is that I do. So if I didn't have this timbre matching situation, you know, I don't know what I'd do.
I was really intrigued with the timbre matching, which makes a lot of sense because you play a lot of sets and they sound like they're all from different kits. They don't sound like a matched set. You know, one tom will have a certain pitch or a certain decay, and then the next one will have a different decay. So it makes it really great for you when you're in the studio. You don't have those problems. And also the way the edges are done, you know, that just takes it another step further.
Big part of timbre matching is setting up the shells with an intervallic relationship between them. Typically the 8s through 13-inch shells are 6-ply shells with 3-ply reinforcing hoops. And then the 14 through 18 are 7-ply shells with 3-ply reinforcing hoops. So sometimes if someone orders a 13-inch shell in their drum setup, and that's quite all right, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, we run into the problem because from a 13 to a 14, you might run into a timbre challenged setup. And let's see how that works. I've set up a few shells here. This is a 10. Here we have our 12. Here we have our 13. Very nice. Here we have our 14. If you can hear that, these two drums have the same timbre, yet they are different sizes. Okay? That's a very bad thing for timbre. The drum shell that should have accompanied that is a 6-ply 14 that sounds like this. So you have the relationship to the 14 from the 13. And then we finish off the kit with a nice round 16. Isn't that beautiful? That's making a drum kit. Now we have to look at the grains, the grain patterns. Obviously this shell doesn't fit with this shell. So what I would have to do is look through all my stacks of drum shells here and find a shell that is blonde like this one. This one is a little bit too red. So you get the grains flowing right, you get the color tones of the maple right, you get the timbre matching process in place. Then you've created a drum set that'll be like this for life.
When a kit leaves here, it has been put together because those drums are supposed to be together. And this is something that they do at this company. They choose the shells. So all these shells are note-wise, they're all in tune in the right sense of the word. So they're not all talking to each other continually in terms of the tones.
And I also found myself very much in sync with John Good's thinking about a shell itself having a note that it wants to produce. And when he taps the shell and stamps the inside of that shell with a note, I too believe that the best thing you can do is try to tune the heads on that drum to that same fundamental note, and you're going to get the maximum amount of resonance and tone from that drum.
It sounds like science fiction almost, that someone's sitting out there. I know, I've seen him do it. You know, I've seen John Good out there, you know, knocking on wood and listening and things like that. What you know you're going to get is a personalized kit that that is cohesive, that's going to fit together. And you know the guy with the ears at this company is going to be putting that kit together for you. They do it for me, they do it for Mick Fleetwood, they do it for anybody who buys a DW kit.
This is a shell without a reinforcing hoop. Okay? And this is one where he's put the reinforcing hoop in. You'll notice it's quite higher than this one. When you insert the reinforcing hoop, you add mass to the shell, and therefore you raise the pitch of the shell. Another thing, though, is like this flimsy stick right here. I mean, this, you wouldn't imagine that this can make a difference to reinforce a drum shell, right? But it truly does reinforce the shell, but the thing it does even better than that is it provides the cut in the shell. In other words, you have this vibration at the top that's sustained slightly for a split second to establish the point and the cut of the shell, and then because it's a very thin shell, releases and allows a lower fundamental to happen. So putting these reinforcing hoops in here is pretty important to me. We have another line of drums that don't have reinforcing hoops. That's the Workshop series. In the Workshop series, typically are a lower timbre, a little more open sounding, not so to the point cutting sounding drums. Marvelous. I mean, if you're looking for that texture of sound, play those drums. Some people think that the longer the shell, the longer the sound. Well, actually, the longer the shell, the shorter the sustain of the note, believe it or not. You see, there's two basic elements working here. You've got a circular vibration that travels down this shell when you strike it lightning fast. Then you also have an air column created at the same time. Now, if you touch the end of that, okay, and I tapped that, you felt that vibration immediately, right? Okay, now if I were to blow air your direction, and I won't do that, I just had a cup of coffee, but if I did, that air would take a lot longer to get to you than that vibration did, correct? So, if you can only imagine that the longer the shell, the least likely these two elements are bound to reach the bottom head to excite the bottom head at an interval that'll make any sense with each other. So they start coming and going and crashing against each other, creating standing waves and cut themselves off. So if you want the shell to really sing and be fat and full, you shorten the shell up, and these two elements happen really nicely together, simultaneously. By the way, Charles, do you know what you have in your hand right there? I did before. This is a 10-inch tom made of timeless timber from the bottom of Lake Superior. 600 years old, this wood. People are always so hung up on, do I have an 8-ply shell or a 9-ply shell or a 5-ply shell or what kind of shell? Remember, this is a single piece of veneer right here. This is a 1-ply, right? Or is this 1-ply? What have you got? This right here is a Johnny Craviotto, master drum shell maker, single-ply, solid maple snare drum. So I ask you, is this 1-ply or is this 1-ply? It depends on the thickness of the ply and how you put the drum together. If you got a solid ply, a solid shell, or a plied shell. They all have different properties and wonderful differences about their tone. So making plywood is one of the greatest things in my life. Look how beautiful that is. We make some nice plywood here. I'm in the plywood business. I never thought I'd be. I mean, it's fantastic because we can do anything with this. By the way, look at the beauty of this piece of wood. It smells fantastic. If you've ever smelled walnut, this is the stuff right here.
Perfume.
It's like perfume, exactly. But getting back to plies, I mean, if I want to make plywood that's made out of walnut, I can do it because I have a plywood making machine. I've got the press. If one day I want to make cherry drums, you've never heard of cherry plied tom, right? I haven't either, but I'm going to. I want to try ash. I want to try all these different things. And it shouldn't be, and then we're talking about the future now, but it shouldn't be such a hard thing to realize for me. I've got my dream here. I've got Willy Wonka's chocolate factory of machinery. Not only is this machine a wonderful machine that can do anything, it makes all this wonderful plywood, but there's another feature about this machine that's great. It sounds great. We timbre match our machines too. We talk about the thicknesses of plies, we talk about the different types of woods and their properties for sound, but one keep forgetting, I think, to talk about is the glue involved. We use urea glue to make the plywood, but we use a PVA glue, this white glue here, to bond the shell together. The glue and the structure of the glue and how it forms vibration in the shell is ultimately important. So, learning more about this glue, we have added our own additive. We'll call it additive Z7 for laughs. But it's a type of additive of a very hard phenolic type resin that we add to this glue that brings the hardness back. You can see that he's passing the center 3-ply piece of plywood through and picking up this PVA glue on here. That's the only one that really gets glued because it glues itself to the outer and it glues itself to the inner. He'll roll this together. That kind of puts the H in the word hustle. He's a good man. I captured him from the guitar industry, so I get my tolerances kind of like the guitar industry tolerances.
Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to make a 22-inch 7-ply bass drum. And what that consists of is a 2-ply outer, a 3-ply core, and a 2-ply center. First I put in the 2-ply outer in the machine, then I'll take the 3-ply core, run that through the glue spreader, then I take that into the press. That's the only piece that gets glue on it. The roller glues both sides of that. Then after that's in the press, I'll take a 2-ply inner, put that in, and also while I'm putting it in, I offset all of the seams so that none of them are in the same place. Then it goes in the press, and the press is heated to about 200 degrees. So that'll go in there for about 4 minutes approximately. And then after that, it'll come out a bass drum.
These machines can make very thin shells all the way up to thicker shells, actually all the way to 10-ply drum shell snare drum thicknesses. Okay. All right. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay. This is what I've been waiting for. This is a sample of a Tamo ash log from Japan. This is the top right here. Okay? Now, look how it changes. Now, look how beautiful this piece is right here. These are going to make beautiful drum sets.
These are going to be great.
Oh, my God. Look how wide this gets. Now, this is the middle of the log right here. That's why I love doing this. Look how beautiful that is. And see this, the white sap around the edges? That's the bottom of the log right there. Great big hole in the front of your bass drum. You're going to blow about 20% of your bottom end right out the front of your drum. And that's just a fact. The guy's got to put the microphone in there. The engineer doesn't like the placement of this, that, and the other thing. Well, that's why we advocate May mics for the inside, especially on the inside of bass drums. But if you do that, you find yourself lending to keeping the front head solid. If you have your front head solid and you play your batter head, beater ball stutters on it, so you're losing again. So that's why I've developed this hole pattern in this drum head here. This hole pattern deals with putting or allowing the drum head to breathe while keeping the low fundamental right where it belongs in the drum instead of cutting the great big hole here. So the low fundamental stays and the drum breathes like this. The other day a guy came up to me and he said, what were you thinking about this whole, how did you get to that? And I said, well, you see, you've got the pillow down here in the bass drum, and you've got my logo up here, so basically there wasn't any place else to put them. But it really does work well. Combine that with this batter head. Now, sometimes people subscribe to a great big underlie in your batter head. It's like a power stroke type head. In doing that, if you nail your kick drum really hard, it sounds rich, it sounds full, and it's wonderful. But if you tap it, a head like that becomes a shower curtain. So if you notice, we've taken the underlie and made it very minimal here so that with light velocity playing, you get a rich, low fundamental, and if you nail it hard, you've got all the beauty that power stroke heads have to offer. Now, you take this head, and the pillow in the middle. All you need is a bass drum shell. Now, with this combination, believe me, you can kill small animals at 100 yards.
Our new coated clear Ambassador drumhead features a rounded collar with a non-glued crimped steel hoop. This particular head tunes up lightning fast and stays there very long.
And right there, Mr. Christmas himself, Max Weinberg and his Max Weinberg 7. Hey there.
Don, in my opinion, you know, I've known them for years, and I may not see them every day, but they're in this business not as a business, as most other companies I feel are. They're into drums because of the art of drumming. So they make drums out of an art. That's how they approach it, the same way that I approach music.
When we were in California, I was using a rental kit by that company, and you know, it wasn't really happening. And Don came to the show and said, "Man, you know, let me make you a kit exactly the one, like the type that you use, and just, you know, see what you think." So I gave him the sizes of the kit I used with Pat, and when we were doing the next album in the Power Station, we set both kits up side to side, and the DWs just won out. I mean, everyone from Pat to the engineer just said, "This is the kit."
I had them at the house for a few days, put them right out here on the road. We swapped my old kit out and put this kit out here, so they're brand new. I'm still in awe. Still like a kid at Christmas. You know, it's great. I like everything about them. The thing that I think really turned me on about the DWs initially was the tom sounds. I had sat on some DW kits several times before, had never owned one, and the toms, I think, are what really just blew me away.
Nuances. Drum sounds are truly about nuances. Innovations that we've come up with through the years deal with those nuances a lot. For example, true pitch tuning, putting 30% more threads in a tension rod to make it much finer, to tune and dial in the sound you're trying to create. Timbre. To some people that may seem like a nuance. To me, that's a very big thing. That's creating intervallic relationships. Graduated thickness of counter hoops. For example, why on a little 8-inch tom-tom would you have a 2.3 millimeter counter hoop, same thickness all the way to an 18-inch floor tom? Why would we have the same amount of weight on this drum as we do this great big drum? What I really want to do and what I'm focusing on is to try and make the high end of the drum kit resonate and sustain every bit as much as the low end does. And that is a trick. That is a challenge. But I just can't imagine playing the low end of a keyboard and never playing the high end of the keyboard. It's all about music. It's all about notes. So I'm going to take 1.65 millimeter counter hoops for my 8s and 10s, 2.0 millimeter for my 12s and 13s and 14s, and 2.3 for the 16 and 18-inch drums. But that is a nuance. That's a little thing. What I'm getting at here is if you stack all of these nuances on top of each other, you make a very big difference.
This is my 7th year with Drum Workshop, making the Craviotto Drum Workshop solid shell snare drum. This year we will be introducing a 10-inch drum as well to our line of solid maple shells. Also we offer oak, walnut, cherry, birch, and other exotic woods as well.
you just kind of want to bite it or something. I mean, it's so beautiful. I don't know. They do this and they do all kinds of things to figure out the pitch. But to me, I don't know. I haven't seen anything this beautiful from anybody. These people are really, really serious about what they do. Johnny Craviotto is an absolute master craftsman.
Johnny signs the inside of his shells. I mean, my pal, he's the greatest drum maker on the planet. And this is his signature right here. And you have one of these, you get one of these drums, you've got a treasure. It's another historical piece.
This is the drum that Jim Keltner was talking about earlier. It is a 700-year-old maple that was recovered from the bottom of Lake Superior.
What we have here is a DW Craviotto snare drum with a beautiful leopard skin finish, which I love to death. And this is one of my favorite snare drums because, you know, with the style of music that I play, I need a loud, you know, snappy snare drum with a lot of attack, and you know, just with this finish, I get lots of chicks with it too. So I love it.
The craftsmanship that goes into these instruments, along with the craftsmanship that Drum Workshop puts into their instruments, I feel, is one perfect match.
It's nice to know when you call up, if you do have a problem, that they know exactly what you're talking about. In my relationship with John Good, I mean, we go back to the Frank Zappa days. John was my drum tech. Having a guy in the company who's been out on the road a lot and knows exactly what you go through when you're out there, when you're in the middle of nowhere, and something goes down, you know, they take a lot of attention, and I think they support all the people that are with the company very well.
I remember when I first played the drums, really played the drums, I was up at the factory, up at the offices, and Don and I had lunch. And I was on a clinic tour on my way from LA to San Francisco. So we came back, he said, well, you know, before you go, just sit down at the drums. And I'm saying, okay, well, Don, I really have to hit the road. So I was like, 5 minutes. So I sat down and started playing the drums, and 40 minutes later, I was still playing. I opened my eyes, like a room full of people, I'm sweating. You know, it was like, wow, what's going on?
Actually, it was Don Henley was the one who actually picked me. They were looking for a specific guy with, you know, a certain feel, and wasn't too wild and crazy. Someone that had a pretty simple approach to the music and fit in real well. To be working with them is really to play some of those songs and to play them like they've been done for 20 or 30 years, and to make it, you know, sound the way they like it heard, to play drums the way they want it to feel. It's been a great honor for me. It's been a good thing. Yeah, I was real happy to bring DW drums to the Eagles stage, to the Eagles and to their solo bands as well. And I think that their music demands, you know, quality without, I'm not just trying to say that. I mean, they pride themselves on a show, on sounding like the records. And I think by choosing the drums that we chose, picking out the certain toms, picking out the snare drums, tuning them that way, that it really helped the music come alive and made it even more special for the fans, you know, to see it. But yeah, Timothy B. Schmidt's using DW drums now in his studio. Glenn's got him in his studio using DW drums. When we first started on the Hell Freezes Over, he's, you know, asked me straight up, what do you think? And I said, I think we need to go with DW. They're the best drums out there. And John Good brought a set down. He listened to him. He loved him. We picked out a nice set, and it's been, you know, that's been the set that's been out on the Eagles tour for quite some time. So
it's very flattering to me that you've chosen DW, and it kind of came in a strange way, right? You were at a NAMM show, and you were talking to somebody else. I forget who they were, but
97 NAMM show. We were
97.
David Lynch and I were to sign an endorsement deal with Brand X, and we were at their booth waiting for them, and your booth was right at the end of the aisle, and you had a Tamo Ash kit on a turntable of diamond plate steel under lights, and it was an incredible sight. And David goes, "What's that?" And I said, "It's drums. Are we getting those drums?" No, it's a different manufacturer. And I saw your logo, and I said, "But I know those guys because of Keltner."
Because of Keltner recorded at the studio.
We left the booth of Brand X and walked over, and as soon as he saw them and played a few drums in the booth, that was it. DW drums for the studio only.
I was really impressed because I said, you know, if you want to deal with us, we're going to work together. You've got to come out to the shop. I mean, that's what I have to infect everybody with what we do out here and how it's done and all that stuff. And you guys showed up right here, and it was, you know, it was very flattering that he and yourself, you care enough to do that. I mean, you even, let's see, the Tamo kit you got has a woofer.
Yes, the woofer. It's an amazing. Now, see, this is what we like about DW drums. You have the passion for the drums that we have for music, and without the instruments, you can't make the music. So, innovation, the woofer on the front of the kick drum for additional low frequencies with its own built-in microphone, and it makes the kick drum like a cannon. It's unbelievable how big it is. And yet, so you can filter it off if it's too big, but it just gives you another tool, another voice to use to really round out the bottom end. And in modern mixes, truthfully, in modern mixes, it's a pyramid, and the number one element is the kick drum.
I really like the thing they're doing with the kick drum. They have this ambient kick drum that they put in front of the bass drum now, which actually makes the bass drum sound more ambient. I was really interested in that.
There's always new things. The bass drum woofer is, you know, the coolest thing that I've found in the drum set in the last 10 years.
The only reason I started playing drums was because I was so enthusiastic about it, about music, and when I played it made me more enthusiastic. It just made me happy. I loved doing it. And at the same time, knowing how to play guitar and writing a lot of music has helped me understand music and drums differently. It just gets to the point where when you get older and after you've gone through all these phases, you know, and you become more mature, you can look at everything and every kind of music you've been into and every style of drumming that you've been into and take what you like about all of it instead of being 17 years old and going, yeah, jazz is lame or country music sucks. You know, you can get older and realize that it's all good. Every kid at one point wants to be a drummer, even if it's only for a month. They want to be a baseball player or an astronaut or a fireman or a drummer, you know, or a policeman or something. And the drums are just such a fun, physical, instant gratification. It's hard for a kid to pick up a guitar or a horn and make it make sense, but you can take a drum and go ba 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 ba, and it's fun to hear, you know.
Pacific Drum and Percussion Division has been over 5 years in the making. We're really excited to introduce this year. Actually, 2 years ago, we almost introduced it. We weren't sure that our suppliers and the quality and consistency of what we planned on introducing was going to be up to par, so we decided to wait until we had all of the pieces to the pie together. We're finally happy we have an opportunity to introduce a great drum set at an affordable price. The Pacific drums are mainly targeted at any level of drummer, from level to full-on professional. It just depends on what they necessarily are looking for out of a drum set. A lot of our customers for Pacific will be drummers who have DW drum sets but want an alternative for when they're going out on the gig, or they don't want to take a chance of anything happening to their really expensive, really custom-made, for example, Lake Superior drum set. And this is another opportunity or another alternative for them.
I'm a simple drummer. I consider myself someone who just lays down a groove. And so I try and be as diplomatic as possible. So when I was playing with Tower of Power, taking the horns and the rhythm section and kind of sort of welding them together and making it happen from there. The same thing with logins. I mean, you know, I love working behind singers. So just kind of sort of make them do this. DW. First of all, strength and independence is something that I look for in a drum kit. So each individual drum has to speak well within the range that it was made for. So with that, with the depth of sound, all of that creates a well-rounded tone for an overall kit. So I don't know, DW delivers on that. So I'm always happy with that sound. I'm so happy to be playing drums because of DW.
Nobody is like this company. I mean, great isn't good enough. They keep progressing, you know, and every time I talk to them, new to show me and for me to play and that I love, you know, it's just, it's incredible. I'm so honored to be a part of this team here.
I speak with John and Don like every week or every other week, just let them know what I'm up to, and we'll go and have lunch together and talk drums and walk around the factory, and it's like being a kid in a candy store for me.
Man, without a doubt, I would literally have paid to be here today with all these great players, man. I mean, number one, being drummers, we never get to see each other, you know. So to have all of us here today was just unbelievable, man. It was like, it was so neat. And all the great playing, my God, I mean, it's like a very humbling experience, but inspiring at the same time.
I've surrounded myself with a great A-team of people. It takes years to build that, but we've got it now. So doing projects such as the Timeless Timber Project, you get people who aren't just excited for me, they're excited as well. We're all doing this together, and it's a big family.
It's been a real exciting thing. We all really part of the success of DW, and I want every employee here, a lot of the new ones too, to really share in the pride of manufacturing. We think we're doing something really special.